So when you're working with metal, you want to remember that you really need to take it slow. Because if you push really hard and fast, you're going to get all these indentation lines because you're forcing it to go one way too much too fast. So instead, if you want to get smoother surfaces like this, you need to just barely be pushing it all and just really rubbing the surface a lot lighter than you think you need to, and just go over it lots and lots of times to push it forward slowly and gently rather than all of it all at once, okay? You also want to decide which side's going to be your front, which pieces you want to be sticking out, and which parts you're going to have as negative space in the background just kind of falling back here. So I want my sky falling back. Same thing with the ground down here. Not much is really happening. But I do have this rock sticking out in the foreground that I want to pop out with this lizard popping out even more than the rock because it's on top. The mountains I want to pop out some more too. The sun is really popping out. I've worked at this space a lot. But you can see where I've kind of gone a little too hard, too fast. I'm getting some ripping, some tearing here. If you start getting that, that means you're pushing too hard and you want to ease up and not really work at that space anymore because it's just going to turn into a hole that'll get bigger and bigger and bigger. So yeah, you just want to keep flipping from side to side. So when I'm trying to push the background back, my places like the sky and the ground down here, you want to work from the front side, and you just want to just so gently be smoothing out all the way to those edges, smooth out those spaces, and you'll be gently pushing them back a little bit at a time. When you get pretty close to places that are popping out, be really careful, go slow. Get right up next to them. But again, don't push too hard. You need to push a lot softer than you think you need to. So use that pointy part to get in those small spaces that are really hard to get into, but be super extra careful with the pointy part of this tool because it will rip a lot easier than the flat surface will rip the metal. Okay, so I'm just carefully, slowly working in there. This is a project that takes a lot of patience. You need to take your time. Do not expect to get it done in one class or 2 classes. You might need to work 3 whole classes just pushing this metal back and forth, okay? But once you start moving a spot backwards, you don't want to come from the other side and push it back the other way. If you move that metal up and down, that's when it starts to get really weak and it breaks and the color fades and you get holes. So decide from the beginning which parts are coming forward and which parts are going backward and keep it that way. Because if you have to change it, it's going to weaken the metal. It's going to cause you a lot of problems. So the slower you work, the better. The more times you go over those spaces, the more they will go in the direction you want them to go. Just a little bit at a time. I can't stress that enough. Gentle lines. Work at one space for a while, gently. Like I'm pushing forward this rock right now. Oop, that's not the rock. You gotta be careful. And then flip it over and push back the spaces you want to go the other way. Pay attention to your design. I just made this mistake because I was talking. I started pushing this forward, but I caught myself. This needs to stay back. This rock here is the only thing that gets pushed forward in this area. Everything else is going back in space. The river, it needs to pop out. So I'm going to push it a little bit to go forward. Keep it on your mat. Another way we rip these is forgetting what we're doing and going off onto the table. This is a hard surface. If you grind into a hard surface, your metal will rip. So yeah, from the start, make sure you decide what's going to come forward, what's going to go backward, and stick with it. Even if you have to mark it on the back, use little symbols up and down, do it. Remember what you're doing. Don't lose track. Be gentle. Work everything out slowly, just a little bit at a time. Go around to all your spaces. Move the sun in. Move the mountains in. Move the rock in. Then flip it over. Do these parts that go the other way. Then do it again. Go back to the sun and the mountains. You're going to keep doing layers and layers over and over again. Bella's making a bunch of noise over there. Okay? Yeah, so just be careful, be patient, and you should be fine. When you're all done, you're probably going to want to color the front with some Sharpie markers. Again, don't push too hard with those and ruin your design, but pick out the spots if you just want to do black Sharpies to kind of outline the main aspects of your design. Like, I would want to probably add more details to my lizard when he's all done. You can do that. If you have a silver side, that's the side that color works best on if you're going to use colored Sharpies. And yeah, just carefully do the whole thing. If you want, you can just use black to bring out some of the stuff, but not all of it. Obviously, you don't want the whole thing to be black. And yeah, just focus on your design and making it work for the design that you have created. I would say that my sun is probably done. It's sticking out a lot. You can really see it coming out. My lizard, still kind of fuzzy in there, okay? You can't even see my clouds at all yet. So keep working at this. Don't stop until everything looks like my sun here does. It's popping out so much. It's like a 3D piece of artwork here. The rest of my piece definitely needs to look like this before I'm going to be done. So keep working until you're positive that it is as indented, popping up as much as possible without it ripping. Okay? Have fun.